So I'm Liz Wiggins. I'm the board chair of this nonprofit, which we were formerly known as the Interagency Support Council of Eastern Williamson County, but we've actually recently rebranded to My Community Catalyst. You can learn more about that rebranding by going to our website, which we will talk about more in just a moment. But I do want to introduce a couple people on this call. First, I want to introduce Brian Hernandez, who is also on the board, and he has done an amazing job being the lead in a lot of our rebranding. And so, you guys, I know there's not a whole lot of people on here, but I just want to really do a round of applause to him and all of his work on this. Brian, can you say hi real quick to everybody?
Hi, everybody.
And then Gabriella is not with us. Gabriella Westbrook is our vice president, and she has also been really helpful in the rebranding and the change in our organization. But she had a conflict today, so she can't make it. What I do want to tell you, though, last but definitely not least, is we added somebody pretty amazing to our team. That would be Candace Mees, who's probably over here hating because I did not tell her I was going to put her in the spotlight. But she has done an amazing job helping us kick off a lot of our new initiatives, including this webinar. You may hear from her or see emails from her. You probably don't even realize they're coming from her, but a lot of the emails that you get from just our main email address are really coming from her. She's a busy, busy bee doing so much work. So really big round of applause to Candace for everything that she's been doing you. And she put together this wonderful PowerPoint, which I love. And so, again, apologize for the noise, you guys. I'm in the waiting area here. We are going to present to you today Momxiety, which is presented by Amy Grego. But before we get there, there's a couple things we're going to talk about real fast. But we are going to go through everything quickly just because of the delay. I want to make sure that we still stay on track. So real quick into this is if you, well, I thought we were going to stay on track. There we go. I was going to do an icebreaker, but we're going to skip the icebreaker. But I do want you guys thinking about this. You know, what's one more thing that you wish people understood about being a worker, a working parent, or a caregiver? So don't drop your answers in the chat. We're not going to do that today, but just know that a, kind of staying on theme of what's going to happen today, just know that we're thinking of other working parents and you caregivers that have a lot to carry and a lot of work on your shoulders, so to speak. Okay? Instead, what I want to do is jump into the event sharing. If your organization has any upcoming events or you have any flyers or networking meetings that you want to share, now is the time to drop those into the chat. We will be sharing those on our social media, and we really want to encourage you to give us a follow or a like or any of the other terms or connections on any of our social media so you can be up to date on all the events happening in the community. And what you'll see is that if you've already been following us in the past and it said the interagency, all of that has now changed to My Community Catalyst. Okay. So please be sure to drop anything you have into the chat, and we will be doing that at every webinar that we do. So please plan to have any links or information that you have for any upcoming events or anything you want to share with other members in the future. Now, on to our speaker, who I have actually had the pleasure of getting to meet and asking her all kinds of questions. What has not been released yet is I've actually had the opportunity to interview her for our podcast, which for those who are not familiar with our podcast series, it's called Let's Talk Wilco. And we are in the middle of recording for season 2. And season 2 has not been released yet or dropped yet. We're still doing lots of work. I just want to remind everybody this is my volunteer job, so it takes me a little while sometimes to get this stuff. But I have had the opportunity during that process to interview Amy, and I have to tell you, she has such an amazing story, so much to share. And if you have not had the opportunity to meet her or go by her trauma-free tree organization, you really, really should do that. I won't read everything that's on the screen because I think you guys can read it, but mostly because we're just short on time. And I really want to give the floor over to Amy so that she can get started on why we are here today. Okay, Amy, Thank you for joining us so much. I'm so excited you're here. And thank you for being our first speaker on the webinars and being willing to go through all of the technology issues with us and still sticking around.
Well, I'm really grateful to be here, and please do what you need to on your side. With your
Yeah.
daughter today, if you need to step away and take care of yourself in the meantime. I'll try to give you a quick breath tool to use throughout today.
I'm going to
uh,
take all those skills today. You watch. I'm going to take them all.
Yeah, I'm very grateful to be here, and it was really wonderful, yeah, to sit with you on the podcast and share a little bit more of, yeah, my personal story of how I got here and how I got to develop Trauma Free Tree, which is my psychotherapy business. I mostly work with adults with anxiety or PTSD. And we just opened our doors June 2nd to TFT Clubhouse, which is the Wellness and Learning Center in Taylor at 8th and Main. We just had our big ribbon cutting ceremony. That was inspired by my son getting ready to go to middle school, and public middle school being an overwhelming option for a variety of reasons, and recognizing that it is for a lot of other kiddos as well. I'm a huge advocate for teachers. However, I think a lot of things that are occurring for our kids in society and culture, food, don't get me started, all sorts of things are needing some extra tools and support, and I hope that TFT Clubhouse is providing that. It's an alternative way to learn. There's therapeutic support. There's lots of body movement and ways to express yourself through art and dance, with a lot of other amazing community members that I've gotten to know since living in Taylor. So that's what we're doing here in town and at home. What I wanted to talk about today, I call it Momxiety because it's coming from my perspective as a working mom. But really, what I notice is that primary caregivers, right? So, whatever pronouns you use, whatever your family dynamics look like, being a full time stay at home mom or balancing out whatever's occurring at your home, there's usually one person who's considered the primary caregiver who's maybe doing most of the scheduling, managing, and care for the kiddos at home. So we recognize all families, but my perspective is I'm the primary caregiver. So emotional labor can be up to an extra 20 hours a week. What does that mean? Well, that means the thought and energy that you're giving to the family business can be like an additional 20-hour work week. So I want to honor that for those of you that are carrying that. So what I found is that that person's not going to probably have time available to sit and meditate for a half hour, or maybe doesn't even have time to go to a yoga class. And so we really need quick, easy ways to refuel, reset, recharge, and rest. And that means for our body and our mind. So your body's not going to rest unless your brain thinks it's safe to do so. And your brain isn't going to slow down and rest unless your body tells it it's safe to do so. And they're communicating with each other all day long, deciding whether or not it's okay to rest and refuel. So, the first thing I wanted to do is have everybody just type in the chat. I'm going to give you a very short phrase and I want you to complete it. And it will usually give us a peek into how our minds just operate on their own. And I'm going to do it as well. So if I say, what if, go ahead and just complete that sentence. I mean, you don't have to do the question point, the question mark, or you can do 3 question marks if it's a big what if, but just complete that sentence. What if? Oh, what if I don't do it right? Yes. Anyone else? What
Mm.
if? What if they don't like me? Yes, of course. What if? What if they think less of me? Hmm. Got a few more. What if I forget something important? Of course. Hmm. Any others? What do these all have in common? Here's mine. Self-doubt, yeah. What if my fake eyelashes fall off in this webinar? So thank you. So what we know is that typically when a what if question comes in for yourself, it's not a positive thought. It's not like, what if I get $1 million tomorrow out of nowhere? Negative bias is 5 times stronger. That means your brain actually works 5 times stronger to prepare you for something scary, embarrassing, unsafe to happen. It's trying to protect you. And so those connections in your brain, they look like cobwebs actually. If you could see the synapse connections, they're really, really thick. All of these what if worries, they're super thick because they're saying, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. What that can do is exhaust us, overwhelm us. It's trying to protect us. So, yes, imposter syndrome is exhausting, right? So, every time you're thinking a what if worrisome thought, right? It's reinforcing that synapse connection in your brain. And then these new kind of positive thoughts are like super, super wispy. And we want those to be a little bit stronger. Now, it's tough because your body is going to send a message to your brain that it's not safe to think a new positive thought. So that's why I have found with therapy and specifically anxiety and trauma, it's not really enough to just talk it out. We have to do what's called bottom up. We have to prove to the body first that it's safe to think a new thought. And then the brain will look at it and go, okay, maybe it'll go well. Maybe everyone will get the Zoom link, right? It's not going to think that new positive thought until this feels safe to do so. So, how do we do that? Well, the ways that I have found is through breath and body movement, breath and body movement, and specifically bilateral body movement. So I'm an EMDR therapist, and what we've learned is bilateral movement, swimming, bicycling, drumming, knitting, and bilateral tapping, which we do in our therapy sessions, reinforces more even synapse connections. And so if your brain is working in a more even way, then your body will go, okay, all right, I'll give you some more space to think something positive. Maybe. What if it's all okay? Right? So I like just sharing these funny memes and things because I think they really do reflect that we're starting to notice in culture. People are starting to um, talk more about what their inside workings sound like, and we're not living in so much secrecy and shame about what's going on up here, right? So, you're sitting here trying to tell yourself what could possibly go wrong. And your anxiety is saying, I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to give you all the things that could possibly go wrong. And it likes to do this at night quite often when you're trying to get ready to slow down and go to sleep, right? It likes to do it for me on Sunday night, right? Sunday night anxiety, getting ready for the week ahead. What I have found is that brain will get really busy once you slow down and it says, oh, now it's my time to shine, right? Now I can give you all the worries because you've been ignoring me all day or all week, right? So, what we want is a little bit of some other what if thoughts, and this one's super tiny, but I like it if you can see here. What if things work out? What if your hard work pays off? What if nothing bad happens? What if you enjoy yourself? But what if you succeed? What if you can cope and get through? What if you prove yourself? What if your worries and your irrational thoughts are wrong, right? So, one of the phrases that I use is possibly, but not likely. I don't have to ignore the worry. It's trying to protect me, but possibly, but not likely. So how much thought and energy do I have to give it, right? So we're gonna sit with the what if worry. We're gonna do a little bit of breath work, and then I want you to just see if that what if worry feels the same. So if right now, if it's at an 8, right? If 10 is like I'm gonna have a panic attack, right? Just try to think if you're at an 8 or a 7 right now, maybe even lower, that'd be great. And if it's just a 4, we're going to do a little bit of breath work, a little bit of squeezing, and then you're going to see if that what if worry just feels a little bit lighter for you. Okay? So you can use these at any time on your own. There's a couple rules. One is always go nice and slow. We're going to count together right and left. We're always going to do short sets, so maybe just a count of 10. And we're always going to pause and do mindful breath. So, mindful breath to me just means that we're inhaling through the nose and we're exhaling out the mouth. If you're doing that, especially if that exhale can be nice and long, if it's longer than the inhale, you're putting your central nervous system into parasympathetic mode. Think of like a parachute. It means that you're getting to a place where you're like, okay, it might be okay to be okay. It might be safe to be safe. You're sending that message, right? So, okay, so sit with the yucky, sit with the anxiety, the what if worry, and all the things that you're telling yourself about it. Okay, we're not ignoring it. It's there. Yeah, okay. All right. All right. We're going to do mindful breath. Let's inhale through the nose and exhale out the mouth. Beautiful. Okay. We're going to squeeze right and left to count of 10. You can also tap on your knees. You can do a butterfly hold. Some people really like this because they can kind of feel it on their chest. You can even squeeze your toes when you're in line at Target. And we've used this with the kiddos as well. When things start to get heightened, it's like, okay, dude, big breath, squeeze your toes, right? Okay, let's go. Count of 10 right and left. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to pause here. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Shake it all out. Okay, we're going to go again. Maybe try a different position. See if that works for you. We're going to go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I want you to squeeze on the inhale. Tighten the whole body on the inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Shake it all out. Okay, we're going to go one more. Keep the same position or try something new. Stay right there. See if you can even close your eyes and let that what if worry dissolve away a little bit. Ready? We're going to go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Big squeeze, big inhale through the nose. Tighten the hands, tighten the body. Biggest exhale out. Shake it all out. Okay? So you can lie in bed at night and just sit right here, right? Throughout the day, you can grab the steering wheel and squeeze right and left on the steering wheel, right? What you're doing is you're just grabbing a hold of the moment, grabbing a hold of the stress and the worry, and you're doing some bilateral tapping and some breath. That's a winning combination to just slow things down. Slow down the thoughts and slow down the parts of your body that are telling you things are not okay right now. Now, what we want is for you to be able to look at right now and assess the stress or the threat accurately. So you can't do that when you're in a heightened feeling. But if you give yourself just this quick little reset, then you can look at the email and say, okay, were they being critical or do they just need that right away? It's so interesting how we can actually read a text message or an email or think back to a conversation once we're in this kind of calm center, and you actually can physically see things differently and view things differently, and then you're going to react differently, right? You might respond in a calmer way. And that's exactly how things change. What I've noticed is that nothing out here needs to change. You don't need to change your job. Your mom might not change. You reacting and responding from that calm center is how things can change. And it is very powerful. Not reacting from a trauma response or a stressed out response, right? And it doesn't mean we're going to do it all the time. Maybe we only do it 10% of the time, but I believe that's more than most people. I think most people are just reacting because they feel stressed out or criticized or fearful or insecure, and they're just responding. Um, we wanna wait. So okay, so just thoughts on that. Was it hard to just take a pause and concentrate on breath? Did you feel anxious even just slowing things down? That's very common. Or did anyone feel like maybe their shoulders, maybe dropped a little bit, or maybe the stomach just softened a little bit? Just share what that was like for you. It can be in the chat. I'll read it out loud, or we can
I could
unmute, I think. Yeah.
start.
Mm-hmm.
I could start and say, obviously, my surroundings are not very calming right now, but I do think that um, I was still able to get into that in a moment, especially doing it more than once. Helped me like kind of tune everything else out. And I could feel the difference by tightening up, and then when breathing out and loosening up, I could feel it on my shoulders. Like I could just almost feel like it kind of washing away a little bit. And I thought to myself, this is a really good technique to be using at work when there's a whole lot going on. I think the hardest part is going to be remembering to stop and pause to do that. And I put in the chat how much I really love that point that you said a moment ago about it's not everything else out here that needs to change. It's, you reacting from that space of calm that needs to change. So that sat with me very much so, and I'm gonna try to remember that um and take it with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, listen, there's probably a lot that does need to change out in the world, but you're not going to be able to, right? What you can and cannot control, right? So, what what we say, what can we control? Well, yes, obviously my reaction, my response. So, yeah, just grabbing hold of what we can control, working from the inside out. So, yeah. So Brian's saying it provided a moment of clarity. Yeah, that and again that clarity, right? Then you can actually assess the threat, the criticism, the embarrassment, the fear accurately, right? You're not reacting in a heightened space already. Yeah, and a foundation underneath you. Exactly. Yeah, you've got like a little bit of a safety net underneath you, right? And Angela's saying the breathwork and tapping helps. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Being more calm to respond to the situation. So, it's very interesting because a lot of times when I started my healing, and certainly with new clients, I'll ask them, okay, so you're telling me, you were super stressed out this morning. Where did you feel that stress? And it's very common for someone to look at me and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. What does that mean? Right. Um, that body awareness, a lot of us don't have it. We're leading really busy lives. We're not stopping and thinking about when that person, said something that made me sad. Where did it hit me in my body? We don't really have time for that. We just keep going to the next thing, right? Um, if you can stop and start to check in with your body, where is that stress actually sitting, and get to know it, then you can work with it, right? So I have a really good relationship with my anxiety now. I used to hate it. I used to be mad at it and be afraid of it and just want it to go away. And now we work together because it is wanting me to be my best and have TFT Clubhouse be successful. And it wants to make sure that, my kiddo has eardrops for going to the water park. It's working really hard. My anxiety wants me to be my best. It's just doing it in a way that's really overwhelming and exhausting me. So I will check in with it. It sits right here in my chest, and it's a vibration, right? I used to always think it was like a pounding. It's not, it's a vibration. And sometimes it's real low, but it's just in there. And then other times it's at a 6 and a 7 and an 8, right? And so I will ask it, okay, I hear you. Can you bring it down to a 4? Right? You can come right back up to an 8 at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Right now it's 10 p.m. I've done the best I can for today. Can you come down to a 4 so I can sleep? And I literally talk and negotiate with my body parts now, with the parts that are showing up as anxiety. We do a lot of that work with IFS, talking to our parts, internal family systems. There's no bad parts, but they sometimes work in ways that, yeah, can exhaust you. So that's some of the deeper work that we do, is when you start to build a relationship with all those parts. Um, so one of the things that I wanted to recognize is that, especially for caregivers, the things that I hear is that they are so busy taking care of everything that they are losing themselves, and they don't get to show the other parts of themselves. I hear things like, my kids have no idea how funny I am. I used to be cool. I used to be fun, right? Like I used to be wild. And I think that the anxiety and the responsibility will come over and tell us we just have to have this part of us. And kids don't get to see our other parts. So, what I have learned is that it is not selfish to take care of yourself, especially as a mom or a primary caregiver, because studies show that kids actually feel safer when their parents are doing well. When they see mom smile, the inside of their body regulates. Now, here's what's really wild: infants, babies, and toddlers, and certainly older kids, know when mom is faking joy. So, if you sit with a baby and mom is really feeling joy and giggling and biting baby's toes, right? Her brain will light up, showing and feeling joy. The baby's brain will light up in the same spot. It's called mirror neurons. They're experiencing connection and genuine joy together. If mom fakes the joy and she's actually very sad and depressed and anxious, the baby's brain doesn't light up. If mom takes a video of herself and shows it to baby, even if she's having genuine joy, baby's brain doesn't light up the same way. They literally know and feel that connection. So when they feel genuine joy, they feel safe to explore, to learn, to play and grow, because they know mom's good. She's got me. I'm good. I can go explore. And that actually creates a more independent, brave, resilient, courageous baby. You cannot spoil a baby before the age of 1. Go ahead and love bomb them. And take care of yourself, because they actually will feel safer if they know that you're doing well. So I say that with that not being my story. I was home with my baby the whole first year. He was strapped to me. Even when I was working, I was fortunate enough to take him with me. So I was with him nonstop. He slept with me. He woke up every 2 hours to breastfeed. I was doing everything I was supposed to do to be right there with him, attached with him. Well, then why was he such a dysregulated baby? Why couldn't he sleep through the night? Why couldn't he just, you know, feel comfortable just kind of settling into my arms? Why did those things turn into symptoms of ADHD? Well, what I know is that my anxiety and untreated trauma was not allowing me to just be with him. So even if he's attached to me, strapped in, I'm thinking about 1,000 things that need to be done. I have anger and stress in my heart, and I'm bopping around the house cleaning up in a frenzy, even though he never left my side. Now, that's a lot of responsibility to put on moms and primary caregivers. So I really believe that we need more support for moms, and certainly we need more community for moms and primary caregivers. But your role is that profound. Your role is big. It's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, but the impact between you and your kiddo, that's how important you are. And that's why it's so important for you to take care of yourself. So having said that, I know, like we all are experiencing, there's not much time for that. So you learning these quick, easy tools, you might have to go hide in the bathroom for 2 minutes and squeeze and shake it out, right? And when you come out, your kiddo might see that you've got a little bit more of a foundation of care in place. And so that's all we're doing is just trying to grab these quick little moments to refuel and reset, because you are that important, and it does impact your kiddos. So I want to hear from you if that feels like um, blame or extra responsibility, or oh great, I'm totally responsible for my kids' happiness. Sometimes it can seem that way, or you can notice just how important your role is. Guilt, yeah, exactly, right? For maybe the moments that you weren't totally regulated. Yeah, yep. When I first learned about all of that, I had so much immense guilt for all the moments I wasn't present and calm, right? Who else is feeling that?
I will just jump in and say, having been in such a young mom, 6 kids, I felt so much guilt all the time. I was always focused on trying to, put a roof over their head and food in their bellies. And for such a long time, I was a single mom. So I really was the caregiver, but I was also the provider. I had to be everything to all of them. I had to be mom and dad. And I remember just thinking I would feel so much guilt because I'd rather be at work than at home a lot of times because it was easier. But yet I had all this guilt constantly that I was just failing as a mom. And I don't think that feeling went away. My oldest is now almost 30, like 20, gosh, I can't even count them all. He's getting old, 29 now. And the problem is that, and our youngest is 16, and I think I only started lessening that guilt a couple years ago. And even then, it's not so much that there's no guilt, it's that I accept now that I shouldn't have expected myself to be so perfect and that that was just a part of me growing and learning as a parent and that I can continue to grow and learn. I don't stop growing and learning just because the kids are older, moving out of the house and all that kind of stuff. And that all I can do is do better. What is it? You know better, so you do better kind of thing. So that's what I kind of focus on. And so the guilt isn't quite as overwhelming, doesn't feel as paralyzing. But there's times I go back and I think, wow, I really messed this one up. I really did this one wrong, and I remember my husband and I went through marriage counseling, almost 3 years of it, and a lot of it had to do with around parenting. And for him, the guilt that I had been going through, he just started. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was interesting watching him and how it would break him down a lot. That he would get caught up on how much he wished he had done things differently and parented differently. Now that he knew better, he was like, I should have done better. Um, but I had to be that person saying, you need to forgive yourself and move on from that and focus more on developing better skills now and just setting a better example now and having a good relationship now and all that kind of stuff. And so it's been an interesting journey, but to say is that I'm talking way too much, but my whole point is just that yes, that guilt can be overwhelming. I mean, just debilitating sometimes, especially as a parent. And I just think it at this point now, after so much reflection, I think it's just an example of how much you love your kids. I think as a caregiver, you are just you love your children so much, and so when you feel like they deserve the best, and then you think you're not the best, and that they deserve better, and so you kinda beat yourself up for that all the time. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing so much of that personal story. Because I mean, what I hear is, especially from some homeschool moms, they are afraid to say, I am overwhelmed. I'm not good at this. I don't think this is working for us, right? This guilt that we're supposed to somehow be able to do all of it, right? That somehow you're supposed to have 6 kids and somehow be meeting all their needs, right? Perfectly. And yeah, exactly, Brian. So I'm overcompensating with gifts. Oh yes, the la boo boos, right? Yes, yes, exactly. The whatever the new squishy toy is, right? Because if we can't give present time, what can we give in place of that, right? um I think this this time is very unique because we are starting to look at parenting in a completely different way, and I think sometimes it's adding too much pressure, too much expectations, giving too much to the kids, right? In place of us even having our foundation of care. A big shift for me has been able to say, my job isn't to make my son happy. My job is to support him when he feels disappointed, bored, frustrated, or when he fails. To allow him to fail, to allow him to be disappointed. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. But that's how he gets stronger and also knows that I love him because I'm here to support him uh, in the best way I can. So been a big shift for us. Instead of making things comfortable and joyful for him, um, I want him to have a lot of joy, but it's not a guarantee that that's going to be happening 24/7. So yeah, I think this generation of parents we're putting a lot of expectations on ourselves, and from that can be a lot of guilt and shame. And I don't know that guilt and shame really helps. I think it maybe just exhausts you. I know shame loves two things. It loves secrecy and isolation. So I don't find shame to be a real beneficial emotion. So we want to get rid of that. So one of the things I wanted to do, and I would love for this to be something that we can share on social media. We're going to do the first part together. And then for those of you that like arts and crafts, you can make it look real pretty later. And then I would love for you to take a picture and share it on Instagram and tag all of us because my clients have really enjoyed this exercise. We're going to make a little pie chart that is going to look at where all of our energy is going, where all of our thoughts and time is going. So if you have just a plain piece of paper or even just a small post-it note for now, because you are going to make it bigger and prettier later, it's going to be pretty eye-opening. So I'm going to give you an idea of what we're going to do. So if you just take whatever piece of paper you have, just draw a circle as big as you can to fill up the paper. And so literally just a circle, okay? Now, with pie charts, the whatever you draw represents like a percentage, right? In math. But before we do that, I want you to just list on the side or the top or the bottom. I want you to list 3 or 4 top things that really take up your day. Now, that could be mental energy or physical energy, right? So for me, I'm gonna put um, worrying about making the center a success, worrying if my son is healthy and happy, um, That's the top two for sure, right? So go ahead and just write three to four of just like where is all of that energy going, physical or mental energy, right? So I'm just going to put work, kiddos. A lot of times our partners are at bottom of the list, right? But it's like, okay, yeah, I haven't cooked in a few days. That's weighing heavy on me, right? Just go ahead and write it out. Could be bigger events. Maybe for some of us, like, political um, or worldwide events are weighing really heavy on us, right? I have friends and family that live all over the world. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, there was a tsunami warning here, and there was, the earthquake over here, and um, that might weigh heavy, right? How much time am I giving that every day, right? So just go ahead and write out top three or four. Okay. So those will just get written at the bottom. Now, what I want you to do is you're going to make pie pieces that represent how much worry and thought is going into those things. So I would like to tell you that I think about my kid more than I think about work. I don't know that that's true right now, right? I That piece of pie might actually be bigger. So I'm going to be honest about that, right? So I'm going to mark a little mark in the center, and then go ahead and make my work pie piece is going to be rather large, maybe almost half, right? And so I'll give you an example of what it might look like. And that the hubby might be just getting a sliver of pie, not too much right now, right? Okay, so I'm going to be honest about where kind of my physical and mental energy and thoughts are going. Okay, so you can make yours. If you want to put the percentage in, great. I don't worry so much about the math and that all the pie pieces equal 100%, but some of you, that's going to make you very happy. I'm going to say work is 70%, right? And so what's left for the rest, right? So if you want to go ahead and put the percentages in, you can. Okay. So just go ahead and make your pie pieces. And then when you're ready to share, I want you to maybe give a peek into what's the biggest piece of pie and how do you feel looking at this? What are your thoughts when you're just kind of looking at the percentages and the pieces of pie? So go ahead, maybe in the chat, share what's your biggest piece and what's the percentage, right? And what are your thoughts about that? All right, so I've got work at 70%, kiddos about 25%. That leaves me 35%. Is that the math? No, no, it only leaves me do girl math here, right? Okay, who's got a big piece of pie to share? That means Health and Hubby only get 2.5% each. That might not be enough. Yeah, so here I am, right? Okay, what do we got? If you are real tech savvy, you can take a picture of your pie and drop it into the chat, right? Worrying about finances, money is a huge slice for me. Yeah, 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 yeah. When we think about literally how much time in a given day we are donating to that thought, right? That thought is energy, right? 40% of my time making sure my home life runs smoothly. I call that the family business, right? We might have work, but we also have the family business. Absolutely. Yeah. 90% is the kids' needs being met. Yes. School, activities, food. Yes. Yeah. And so I've got 2% left, Angela's saying, right? For exercise and goals, right? And even that, she's saying pre-baby weight, so there's that expectation, right, of getting back to pre-baby weight, as opposed to I just want some time for myself to feel strong, to be able to stretch, right? Like even that 2% still has an expectation attached to it. That's what I'm hearing, right? As opposed to I deserve to stretch and feel strong again, right? So yeah, not much. Not that pie is probably a little sliver, right? Okay. What are the feelings looking at this? What do we think about this? I'm not surprised by this. I'm well aware, right? Because I'm checking with myself a lot. However, I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to be able to maintain work if I don't nurture my health and my relationship, because he's a big supporter. He's my biggest cheerleader in every way. So if I don't nurture that and I don't nurture myself, right? Go to the yoga classes. I'm not going to be able to even keep this up at 70% even if I wanted to, right? So that's what I'm noticing. Not without judgment, just being like, "Hey lady, guess what? You won't be able to keep this up if you don't nurture this," right? And that's week to week it's been changing for me. It's been nice to know that, like, yeah, next week actually, I might have some more time, and do some yoga and roll around with the kids at the center, right? So anyone else have feelings about looking at their pie and the slices? Maybe you're proud of it. Maybe you're like, yeah, no, that's where it needs to be right now. Okay, so here's the homework assignment. And I love getting these pictures from my clients. It's one of my favorite things. They'll a week later they'll send me a picture of their pie, and sometimes it has glitter on it and it's super colorful and decorated. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw another one, and you're going to write in what's missing, what's not even on here. For me, it's friendships. I have so many incredible women in my life. It's not even on here right now. And they're being so patient, right? They're like, we'll see you soon, lady. We know. So I want to, where can I carve out? Can I take away just 5% out of work, right? I'm going to carve a little piece of pie out of there, and I'm going to put connect. I need to connect with my girls. So I'm going to change 70%, right, to 65. Oh. And I'm going to put 5% into connecting, right? I can do that. I can carve out a little piece here. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at it and you're going to say, what's not even on here, right? And where can I carve out a little piece of pie for that? So you're going to redo the pie chart and add in some things that you deserve, even if it's just adding in 2%, right? And then go ahead and start to color. Now, here's what's interesting. You're going to use dark colors for anything that is negative, worrisome space. And you're going to use light colors for anything that is making you connect, refuel, feel calm, right? So with my kiddo, it's about half and half. Half is mom worry, half is really enjoying him, right? So I'm going to shade in his piece of pie, half and half. Connecting with friends is going to be all light colors, right? Work, I'm kind of really loving work, but there's a small part of it that's stressful, right? So you're going to shade in the parts that are light and the parts that are just worrisome energy. It's very eye opening to say, where is my energy going? Where are my thoughts going? And how much of it is actually just negative energy just burning away? Okay. So I love this exercise, and I really am looking forward to everyone taking their pictures and sharing it. Some of us will be more crafty than others. That's okay. I am not an artist, so it could be a rough sketch. But just for now, who is going to add a sliver of pie? What are you going to add in, and what percentage is it going to be? Yes, exactly. Negative energy just burning away. So go ahead and put in the chat. What are you going to add? Just a little sliver of pie. What's going to be added in? It could just be lying on the floor and rolling around with the kiddos while a movie plays. Could just be a walk around the block. It doesn't have to be big shifts. It's a sliver of pie we're adding in. Small changes. Yeah, add walking. Yep. Yep. Just a little 2% of pie. Yeah. So when we can adjust our thoughts and our worries, when we can quiet the worry and then bring in a new behavior, a new action, right? That's when you can change your life. That's what I have seen clients do. It is an internal process that has external change, right? So you don't necessarily need a job promotion or, move to a new town. If you can quiet the worry and bring that down a little bit, it leaves space to try a new behavior. It's safe to leave the dishes in the sink for right now and go for a walk first, right? That new behavior can change your life step by step by step. Little changes do matter. I've seen huge impact with small change. So yeah, reading exactly. I know. I I joined a book club, and now I'll have all that expectation of finishing the book, right? Instead of just saying no, maybe I'll just enjoy reading. So I want to leave some time for some questions, right? I think thoughts, questions, maybe if you want a specific tool. I consider myself a somatic therapist, right? So, yes, to me, that means really connecting with the body and what it needs to think a new thought. So, if you have more questions about that as well, and what that looks like day to day, I want to answer those questions as well. So, yeah, either in the chat or just unmute.
Thank you, Amy. This has been really helpful. I honestly wasn't thinking I was going to get something out of it. Honestly, I'm like, I already know all this stuff, I'm sure. So thank you.
Oh, God. I have to keep learning because my clients outsmart me. So, I always say I'm only a couple steps ahead of them. Any other questions or thoughts? Well, I will leave this image for everyone just to remind the importance of why we take care of ourselves. it's not just to get more things done, right? We actually know now that really strong link between stress and how it impacts the body and health. Specifically, they've done studies that 80% of autoimmune diseases are in women. And they did a specific study with women of color and a study specifically with not being able to express anger appropriately, and all that staying in the body as stress and it coming out in the form of inflammation and autoimmune diseases. Also, things like obviously ulcers, and it stops white blood cells from being created. So it actually, impacts your immune system. So this is not just about being happy or not being stressed out. This is about you really, really building a foundation of care for yourself and being able to show up for yourself and your family for many, many years. So it does need to be a priority for a lot of reasons. It's just hard to make it a priority. So I love this photo because this was one of the moments that I just gave up and gave in and decided to just give in to the madness that was occurring in my home. My son decided to draw on himself to match his toy cupboard in the background. And instead of going immediately to cleaning it up or yelling or stressing out about it, I sat down and let him draw all over me too. And that was kind of the shift for me, was saying I need to kind of just give in to this, the messiness, the madness, and try to join in some of this fun, because I'm losing out on it trying to just hold up and maintain everything else. I know we have a lot to carry every day, but I think if we can just give in to the overwhelm sometimes a little bit, um, that might make a difference for all of us. So I understand everything that we're holding on to, but yeah, I hope that we can jump in the madness for a little bit, here and there. So I will obviously share this with all of you, but this is our August newsletter. So you can come toward the center in the mornings. We allow tours. You have to obviously check in with us first and reserve a time so we can keep privacy for the students there. You can call and schedule a free consultation to build a family plan. We have the back to school fair on the 9th. Fall semester begins Monday. We've got so many exciting things happening. Mommy and Me yoga and yoga for all at 6 p.m. after the kiddos leave the center. So we really want it to be full family support. We don't want you to just drop off your kid and then run to your busy life. We want you to stay, have a cup of coffee with us, do a mindful moment with your kiddo, do a drawing exercise, then leave, come back and stay for a dance class or a yoga class, and get the care that you deserve as well. So that was the idea behind the family center, was to give the parents the support that they need to give the kids the life that they deserve. So that's what we're trying to do. So I thank you for giving me the platform today.
Thank you so much, Amy. Let me share this again. See if I can do it as easily as I did last time. You guys, I know again, there's not a whole lot of people here, but seriously, round of applause to you, Amy. Great, great presentation. Great information, great tools to use. I really, really appreciate that. And for our next webinar, we are going to be meeting on September 4th at 11:30, and we will have the guest speaker, Ray Langlois, speaking about metrics to mission success, specifically focused on data-driven um, nonprofits. So we will be back then for those who want to mark their calendars. And if you have the opportunity, please complete this survey. And if you're unable to scan this survey, we will send the survey by email as well. And that is it from us. Thank you for joining My Community Catalyst for our first webinar, and we're very excited to bring more information and education to our partners in the future. Thank you.